Hello everyone, Kadono here with your weekly gaming news. So I'm trying out this news thing, and I don't really have a good name for it yet, so right now we're just going to call it the weekly gaming news. If you can think of a better name for it, let me know. And we might, change the name. I probably will change the name. Weekly gaming news is kind of a silly, very descriptive name, but let's move on and get into some headlines. Nintendo pulls out of Brazil. Due to high import duties, Nintendo has decided to pull out of Brazil instead of putting manufacturing facilities in the country. In other Nintendo news, Nintendo announced in a press release that December 2014 was the best year and month they've had for Wii U and its games, claiming a year-over-year increase of 29% and a software sale increase of 75% over the same period in 2013. Speaking of money, the NPDs from last year are up. Console hardware sales are up 20% from 2013, no doubt because we're getting more reason to buy a new console, and software disc sales for the current gen have gone up 70%, and previous gen have gone down 33%. The Australian Classification Board has refused to classify Hotline Miami 2 due to a scene including sexual violence. This has effectively banned Hotline Miami 2 from Australia. Sony Online Entertainment has released H1Z1 to early access. However, upon its release, the microtransaction features have led to a flurry of controversy. SOE has offered refunds to anyone who bought within the first 24 hours and are unhappy with the change. PlayStation Now has changed its model from the individual rental system to something more like a Netflix model. Costing $20 per month or $45 for 3 months, you get access to all of the PS3 games currently available in the PS Now library. There are currently over 100. The PC version of Grand Theft Auto V has been delayed, citing the need for more polish and bug fixing. However, they have open pre-orders available now. Almost 2 years after Rock Band had stopped releasing its weekly DLC, they're releasing 3 more songs. There was quite a bit of news coming out of the Nintendo Direct this week. However, we're only going to hit a few of the headlines here, and we'll go into more detail later on in the show. First, Nintendo announced that Wii games will be available on the Wii U eShop. Previously, to play Wii games, you would have to switch over into Wii mode. I don't know how much of a difference this makes for you guys, but I think it's at least more interesting. I've personally never switched mine into Wii mode. They announced 11 new amiibo coming in February, saying more are coming in the spring. Some of the amiibo are going to be new Mario Party versions of the Mario characters. Yes, that means there will be 2 versions, at least, of some Mario characters. Also, Marth is being reissued alongside of Project Steam. No word on if it's the same or a new model. The new 3DS has a release date, and it is February 13th. It'll be available in red or black, and limited runs of Majora's Mask and Monster Hunter versions are available. However, if you haven't already ordered the Majora's Mask one, you're going to pay a lot for it. The new 3DS is going to support amiibo as well. If you're interested in Monster Hunter 4, there is a demo available now. The new 3DS has a release date of February 13th in North America. It'll be available in red and black, and there will be limited runs of Majora's Mask and Monster Hunter versions of the console. In the US, the Monster Hunter version is available only through GameStop, and the Majora's Mask version is already sold out. So you'll have to hit eBay and pay markup if you want that version. Alright, now that we're done with headlines, let's talk about releases. Let's start out with some games that you can play right now, things that came out last week, or maybe earlier since this is the first news show. Coming up first on the list is a game that I can never pronounce the series name of. Atelier Aisha Plus, The Alchemist of Dust, is available on Vita. WWE Mortals, a interesting looking wrestling game, yes I know, is available on Android and iOS. Super Mario Galaxy 2 has been released on the Wii U eShop, the first of Wii games released on the Wii U. And just for some PC games, we have Tengami, which describes itself as an atmospheric adventure game set inside a Japanese pop-up book. And also Sakura Angels, which, if you're familiar with Sakura Spirit, is more of that. Yes, we all know you play it for the plot. Moving on to this week, most releases are on January 20th. Here's a list of games released on January 20th. First on PC, we have Blackguards 2, a strategy RPG made by Daedalic Entertainment. Also on January 20th, we have Citizens of Earth coming out on PS4 and Vita, Wii U, 3DS, and PC. This is probably the closest to a new Earthbound game you're going to get anytime soon. Also coming out on the 3DS eShop is Gunman Clive 2, a side-scrolling platformer and shooter with a unique art style. Resident Evil Remastered is coming in on the 20th as well, coming for Xbox One, 360, PS4, PS3, and PC. I don't think I need to tell you what this is, you should already know. Splice, the PC and mobile game, is getting moved over to the PlayStation Network on PS3 and PS4. Some kind of visual novel called Honey Pop is coming out on PC. And Saints Row 4, Re-Elected, is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One. As far as I can tell, this is Saints Row 4 with all of the DLC and the Gat Out of Hell expansion, and on PS4 and Xbox One. On January 22nd, Punch-Out is coming out on the Wii U eShop. That is the same Punch-Out that was on the Wii. And finally, on January 23rd, Grey Goo is coming out on PC. That's maybe the first real-time strategy game that looks interesting that's come out in quite some time. Now let's get a little bit deeper into other news this week. First, let's talk about the NPDs a little bit. I personally think that since NPDs only cover physical and not digital sales, the game sales numbers really don't tell us much. And they generally don't include PC, and kind of make gaming look like it's a console-only thing since PC sales are mostly digital. However, the console sales being up is interesting. That shows that the market isn't dead yet. And the software sales going up is completely unsurprising because, hey, there's a lot more software available for the PS4 and the Xbox One now than there was last year. However, I think the most interesting part is that the previous gen, meaning the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 sales, have gone down 33%. Some of that is probably just because games are coming out less on those platforms and the versions are less optimized for those platforms, but that also means people are finally moving on. I didn't look at the raw numbers, but I suspect that some of that 33% decrease has gone into people switching over to PC as well. At least that's what I hope, being a PC gamer. Moving on to the Hotline Miami thing. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to say here. The R18 rating in Australia is still fairly new, and honestly, I expect these sorts of things to decrease in number. We aren't going to hear very many of these news stories in coming years as the classification board starts to loosen up and actually just let games be games. At least that's what I hope. It's never good to see Australia missing out on stuff, and I don't like seeing Australians have to pirate games, honestly, because importing digital games isn't really a thing that's easy to do. So the only real option is piracy, and that's not good for anyone. But the main thing to talk about is the Nintendo Direct. I don't suspect we'll be talking about Nintendo this much every show, but hey, Nintendo did a big news dump, so we're gonna do a big news dump on their news dump. First thing I'm gonna do is just run down what I have in my notes. Okay, so they showed a new Fire Emblem. This is going to be in chronological order. If you watched the Nintendo Direct, you're going to know about all of this. Well, of course you'll know about all of this because it's from there. There's a new Fire Emblem trailer. That looked interesting. Puzzle and Dragons Z and Puzzle and Dragons Z Super Mario Edition are coming out on 3DS. Puzzle and Dragons is a really big mobile game in Japan. I wonder how much relevance this is going to have in North America and even Europe. Because, I mean, it's going to sell like crazy over there, but is it going to fly over here? I don't know. I mean, a good game is a good game, so maybe people will be introduced to Puzzle and Dragons, and it'll take off here just as it does over there, but we'll see. There's a free-to-play game called Pokemon Shuffle on the eShop. I'm concerned about this because Nintendo is starting to do free-to-play, and they have all the terrible free-to-play things in there, including energy mechanics, because everyone knows the best way to make people pay money is to not let them play your game. Really. I mean, seriously, guys, just let me play the game. Do something like how Warframe does it or whatever. Let me play the game as long as I want, because, hey, sometimes I have 4 or 5 hours to kill on a weekend, and that's all the gaming I can do. I can't spread it out over the course of a week. 1 hour a day, fine, that's a reasonable amount, but what if I only have 5 hours on Saturday? And energy mechanics just kind of make me go, well, I'm not going to play that game then. So hopefully, in their future titles, they do a little bit better job about handling the free-to-play stuff. Then they announced that Wii titles will be available on the Wii U eShop, and you don't have to switch to Wii mode anymore. And they said Galaxy 2 is available now, Punch-Out on January 22nd, and Metroid Trilogy on January 29th. And each game will be on sale during its launch week. I don't know if this is interesting or not. I think my guess is they have some sort of statistics that show that nobody actually goes into Wii mode, and that wouldn't surprise me at all. And they're like, well, we can totally make a bunch more money if we just try to sell these games again. And you know what? They will. Because Galaxy 2 I missed, and Metroid Trilogy I missed, and I think there's about a 70% chance I'll pick up both of them. whether or not I end up playing them, and I wouldn't have otherwise, so I think this is a really smart move, and I'm interested in seeing what they do in the future. Then they talked about Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. This will work with Amiibo. Also, it looks adorable. You should check out the trailer if you're interested in Kirby. Then they talked about the 11 new Amiibo in February, plus more in the spring, which we mentioned earlier. Nintendo is really leaning hard into this Amiibo thing, and I think it's smart. They're going to make a killing. They are going to make an unbelievable amount of money. Because they can, how many times do you think they can sell Mario? Now, they were talking about the, on March 20th, a Super Mario series of Amiibo are getting launched, aside Mario Party 10. How many copies of Mario Amiibos are your hardcore Nintendo fans going to have? Because my guess is one of each. And they can just keep churning them out, and people will just keep buying them. That's great. As long as this remains a tangential thing to the game, like an extra thing, which it has so far. Amiibos have not been central to any game. I think this is a great thing. The moment they start doing the Skylanders thing with it, where to play the game you need to start paying hundreds of dollars of basically physical DLC to actually get the whole game that you bought, then we'll have a problem. But we aren't there yet, so we'll see. The one thing is that Amiibo right now, anyways, you can only have one save game, essentially. So for the games that use the Amiibos for more than just like a daily gift thing, you can only save your data from one game onto an Amiibo. So if you have a Smash Brothers Amiibo, like a Mario, and then you want to use it in Mario Party 10, you have to erase your Smash Brothers save on the Amiibo, or you have to get another Amiibo. And I think that could end up being confusing, especially for kids. I hope that they find some way of handling this that isn't a long-term problem. Also, they announced the Toad Amiibo would be usable in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Here they switched over to Splatoon. They showed a main menu is kind of a Miiverse style hub world. And they showed some things about loadouts. So your stats are going to be based on your clothing, and your loadout is your clothing, and that looks like it's going to be interesting. I wonder what the community is going to look like around Splatoon when it finally comes out. Like, assuming a community persists, like, what is the age and maturity level? Is it going to be min-maxed? Is it going to be just for fun? I'm really interested in how that's going to turn out. After that, we saw that there's going to be a Majora's Mask pack coming out for Hyrule Warriors. Hyrule Warriors is probably my favorite game of 2014, so I'm definitely going to be picking up this pack. It's got Tinkle, Child Link, and a new adventure mode map. If you haven't played the adventure modes in Hyrule Warriors, you're missing out on probably 70% of the game. Also, a new map means more stuff to do, and possibly new, like, minigame types in there. So hey, I'm all for it. Then they showed a Xenoblade Chronicles X trailer. If you're interested in that game, I recommend checking that out. After that, they announced that Mario vs. Donkey Kong Tipping Stars would be available on March 5th. And, interestingly, it sounds like this is going to be a cross-buy title. Meaning if you buy it on your 3DS, you have it for Wii U, and if you buy it on your Wii U, you have it for 3DS. As far as I know, this is the first time they've done this, but I could be wrong. At any rate, I would like to see more of that in the future. Then there was a trailer for Project Treasure, a free-to-play game from Bandai Namco. I recommend checking that out, it looks pretty interesting. Then they did an eShop run. I didn't actually write down everything, I don't think, but I wrote down that Citizens of Earth seems interesting. Sega is selling a bunch of old games again. Etrian Mystery Dungeon seems interesting. That was like a cross of the Etrian Odyssey games and then the Mystery Dungeon games. So I think it's character types from Etrian Odyssey and gameplay from Mystery Dungeon. So if you played any of those games, you know what those mean. If you haven't, well, I don't know how to help you, bro. And then the other one I wrote down was Story of Seasons, which appears to be some sort of farming thing that apparently people know about and I don't, and that looks interesting and I need to play it. Also, Fossil Fighters is coming out March 20th. On my notes here, I just wrote, IDK, this seems strange. Yeah, I don't know. It could be good. It might not be good. I don't know. Check out the trailer if you want to see what this is about. Yeah. Then they moved into talking about the new 3DS. So here is a handful of features I wrote down about the new 3DS. It has Amiibo support. It has face tracking in 3D. Meaning that when you turn up the 3D on the side and you move your head around, you won't get that like headache-inducing blurry effect. It will actually see where you are using the camera and adjust the layers so that it stays 3D, or at least that's the theory. I have not used it personally. I keep my 3D off all the time for battery life, if nothing else, but also because getting off center is headache inducing. So if they fix that, that's great. 3DS games will work on the new 3DS, but they will have faster loading times, which is great. And the C-Stick will work in games that support it, or games that supported the Circle Pad Pro. So that's good. Obviously, they announced the release date of February 13th, and the colors will be red and black. Smash will be the first 3DS game to support Amiibo. They're going to have an auto brightness feature. They claim it has a better battery, and now it uses micro SD instead of regular SD for storage. Moving on, they talked about Codename Steam coming out March 13th. I didn't really know anything about this, so my notes say, seems similar to XCOM, uses Amiibo with Fire Emblem characters. They also confirmed they're going to release more Marth Amiibos. As far as I could tell though, I didn't see any confirmation on whether those Amiibos would be the same, like a reissue of the same Marths, or whether they would be another Marth, similar to how they're doing a second Mario. After that, they announced the release date for Ace Combat: Assault Horizon Legacy Plus. It is an Ace Combat game. Check it out if you're interested. You should know whether you like Ace Combat or not. Then Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, only on the new 3DS, available in April. Ironfall Invasion, I just wrote down soon. I think that's what they said for the release date, was soon. But it's a third-person shooter in the eShop, but it doesn't need... Well, what? Doesn't need but should use the C-Stick. I wonder what that means. Anyways, it is a third-person shooter, and it's available for 3DS. I think that's what it means. So you can use the C-Stick if you have it, I'm guessing. You know what? Just go look this up yourself if it sounds interesting. Personally, I'm not too interested in third-person shooters on my 3DS, but hey, if you don't have any other better ways of playing third-person shooters, this could be good. They also showed the Monster Hunter 4 version of the new 3DS. In the US, this is exclusive to GameStop. They gave out some details and showed some video footage, which you can look up if you're interested in it. But mainly, the main features they wanted to tell you about were that they put a full online mode into the 3DS version, which before the 3DS version didn't have, and there is a demo coming soon. It looks like it is releasing on February 14th on 3DS and new 3DS. Finally, they talked about Majora's Mask 3D, also coming out February 13th, which is of course the release date for the new 3DS. If you pre-order Codename Steam at GameStop, you'll get a Majora's Mask pin, quote, while supplies last. Now you guys know me, I do not recommend pre-ordering pretty much ever, and because we all know at GameStop, the while supplies last means after the managers have all pocketed a handful of them, I wouldn't recommend pre-ordering Codename Steam at GameStop. Because I don't recommend pre-ordering, and I don't trust GameStop. So there we go. Also, they showed the Majora's Mask version of the new 3DS. However, scalpers have already picked up all of them. So if you want to buy one, you're going to have to pay some extra and go on eBay. And that wrapped up the Nintendo Direct. Hopefully I was able to say everything that was in that Direct in less time than it would have taken to just watch it, so that I wasn't wasting your time. Let's talk about H1Z1 for a second. So this is in early access, and generally I don't like to talk about early access games too much, especially if they just hit early access, but there was a kerfuffle around the fact that the developers had promised ahead of time that any, microtransaction sort of things would not be pay to win. They would be cosmetic, and that'd be pretty much it. Then, of course, on day one, they have these drops you can call in with real money, that although technically you have to, quote, fight for them, people were claiming in streams that these things drop pretty much right next to you, and they give you weapons and such that make you ridiculously overpowered. So it has become pay to win, and that's what everybody blew up about. Like I said before in the headlines, Sony has offered a refund if you bought it in the first 24 hours and you're unhappy with that. That's, I think, amazing. That's pretty unprecedented. Well, not unprecedented, but it's not very common. At this point, honestly, my advice is, again, I'm a generally stay away from early access unless you're happy with the game how it is right now, because you don't know, even big companies, hey, Double Fine just abandoned its early access project, and that was after them saying we're not some fly-by-night company. So if the game's not where you want it now, don't pay for it. However, know if you're going to get into H1Z1 that it has these pay-to-win features, and if that bothers you, then don't buy it. If you're okay with that, then go for it. And if you want to buy it and you're happy with where it looks like the game is now, that's great. But just know, PSA here, just know that they have these pay-to-win features, and now that we are after the release, right, in quotes, we know about this. But since it's early access, who knows? Who knows what they might change? So, buyer beware, I suppose. And this is where I want to hear from you guys. So I don't really have any particular plans for the rest of this show. I was thinking doing some discussion about some of the headlines would be an interesting thing, and I did that. The Nintendo Direct kind of took over this particular episode, but I'm not nailed down on format yet. I like the idea of running through some headlines at the beginning with a minimal amount of commentary, and then going into detail later. But what do you guys think should happen? Should I talk about every headline? Should I just pick out some of the bigger ones? Should I try to find a co-host and bring them in? Which could be an issue because scheduling is hard. But, what do you guys think? You have any great ideas for what a name for something like this is? Are you interested in a new weekly news summary at all? Let me know in the comments below, or whatever means you have of getting a hold of me. There will be another episode of this next Sunday, probably. And it might be similar, it might be different, but it will be news. Please like this video if you liked it, and please subscribe to see more videos. I really do appreciate every subscribe. Until next time, I hope everyone has a great week. We'll see you later.